Well, this is Dr. Von Madd. We're about to start the next phase of the paint jobs on the dinosaurs. So let's see what we got. We got our blue T-Rex right here that we started with Martha. So what we're going to do first is probably one more coat of blue. I want it to be a little bit lighter. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off over here. Move this camera so you can see what I'm doing. Put a little bit of white paint right in here, and then we're going to add a little blue. That would be right here. Just a pinch of blue. Don't want to be in too dark, but I don't need it being white either. So dry off our brush. I got a cloth for this. No, not really. We'll just kind of brush it off on this index card. Let's mix this up and see if this is any brighter than what we have. I might have to add a little more white to it. Maybe a little bit more white. Just a hair lighter shade of blue than what we were just working on the last video. Sorry it's taken me so long. It's just, like I said, a lot of stuff's been going on this week. It's not a precedent I want to set. You know, let's see, it needs to be a little bit lighter. It's still too dark. There we go. Let's see if we can get this just a hair lighter. Oh, that's better. Now, move this over here. Let's brush off some of this excess paint. We're not coating it, we're just kind of dry brushing it. You can always tell when a dry brush is perfect, because if you'll notice how they're getting big paint stripes, you'll barely get any coloring at all coming off of it when you do. So all you really want to do is kind of kiss it with this paint at this particular point. So let's bring it down so you guys can see what we're doing here. There you are. Now, hear the thunder outside, so we'll see what's going on here in a minute. So you just kind of wanting to brush it down, because you're not wanting to lose all these details and the little narrow stuff in there. And I know the arms aren't particularly great, but she did a good job, I think, for her first try. And then we'll go over this with a little white. Now what the white's going to do is bring out that final pop of color coming off of this thing. Right now we're just going to get this last coat of blue into place on it. Kind of want to bring out this last pop, and since we're dry brushing, it's not going to really get overly coated with paint. So all we're really wanting to do is kind of give it an kind of a dusting. I have to thank my cousin for showing me how to do this years ago. Right there's that battle damage. We're going to address that here in a minute. Alright, now we're going to put well, let's get the top of his head. His head's still a little bit patchy looking, you can see right here. Kind of get his, can't have this big patchy looking place, so let's patch him up here. Now if you have a little white showing through, we're going to take care of that in its time. See, there you are. Now, I don't think she did too badly at all. We're going to have to get him glued, and that his foot being messed up, that's kind of my fault. I didn't brace it up when I baked him, when I fired this clay up, as it were. Kind of hit the feet a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to put a lighter undercoat on him. Sorry about that. I thought I had this on focus, and I didn't. Alright, let's get the front of his mouth here. Just going to pinch a little bit of this off and get a little bit more dry brushy. See, now we're going to let this dude percolate for a minute, and the Stegosaur is where we're going to start now. Now the good news about him is I'm pretty well done with the color phase that I want. So we're going to start with some details today. So I want to get one more coat on the big dinosaur, on the T-Rex. We're going to start with a finer point brush. Before we were using something like this. It's kind of a flat chisel brush. Today we're going to be using something a little more fine-tuned. So get some of this excess water off of it, because you need the water to kind of wash down your brushes, of course. Now, see, the big question is with these plates. Now, I want to make them a different color, obviously, from the rest of the animal. What I'm thinking is I'm going to go with this right here, spiced berry. I think a slight reddish skin, or kind of a reddish color, would work, and we're going to use kind of a vanilla for the Thagomizer up here on his tail. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a bit of this spiced berry on the end of this brush, kind of a almost a reddish brown in color. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and just kind of tap that. See how that's kind of making those plates kind of pop a little bit. And I know nobody needs to come talk to me and tell me that this is not exactly an accurate depiction. We're just having a little fun. And that's sort of what it's all about, guys. Having a little fun with it. I mean, do any of us really know just how many plates they had? I mean, not unless you're a paleontologist. Now, kind of got his plates painted up here, and we will go over that with a little white to kind of dry brush this in. Let me get this camera where you can see what I'm doing here. There you go. See, what we're going to do is going to kind of dry brush some of this brown spiced berry color onto both sides of these plates down his back, because we are going to go with a slightly lighter color. Now, I'm going to use that same color, but I'm going to go a little heavier right here. Make his beak kind of that same color. Give Steg's little mouth pieces here same shade. That looks nice. We're going to let that dry a minute while I get the next coloring out. Let's wash off our brush. Trying to get you a place where you can see what we're doing. Also, the next thing coming up is on his tail. Actually, we do need to do one more thing. I about forgot. Where is my head today? Let's paint his toes. I forgot to do that. Let's get us a different brush, though. Let's go with this one. This isn't even a finer point brush than what we had, because this is going to be some delicate work. See, what we're going to do is, first off, we've got a stray brush bristle here. Okay, let's see if you can see what I'm doing. Push this around where you can see. See, I'm painting each individual toe. Hang on, something is shifting over here. There we go. See how his toes look. Let's see if you can get where you can see it. See how the toes are. Now let's go over here and do this on this side now. Just kind of go across the toes. It's kind of hard to get in there, so we'll get the toes you can see on that side. Get his little hoofy toe thingies there going on. Now, very nice. There's a reason this particular project's taking a little while, mostly because, like I said, the knee surgery, and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in my life right now. That and the fact that, And really, you're painting, you're doing art right now, and if you rush art, it will not look good. Right now, we're about to go with some vanilla ice cream. Well, who doesn't like vanilla ice cream? And that's what we're going to use to paint the Thagomizer. Remember those spikes on his tail. Now we're going to go back to, let's see, you need another needle point brush. That's too big. So we're going to go back to our friend the needle brush. And we're going to use it to paint the Thagomizer. I wouldn't go with pure on white, and I don't plan on going with pure on white for the teeth either from the T-Rex. But there's the Thag. Now, if you really wanted to make him look all battle worn, you could have gone. I could have gone with a little brown. It's just up to you guys. Remember, at the end of the day, you're the artist. This is the image you're creating. This is what you get to show the world. And at the risk of sounding like Bob Ross, happy little Thagomizer. Which I know sounds demented, but there you are. Happy little Thagomizer. Trying to keep it in focus because I'm painting with one hand and holding a camera with the other. Because the tripod's not always good for keeping it on focus with what I'm doing here. It's good for some things, but it makes a good handle here. Just kind of get the little Thagomizer painted up here. So there you are. Let's take a look at what we got so far. Now when I'm done, I'll paint over the whole thing. I'm going to let that dry a few minutes. There we go. See if we can see how the Thagomizer's painted up. Now we're going to let that over here because we still need the vanilla ice cream for another project over here. In this case, old T-Rex's choppers. So let's get some of this paint. Now we're going to go a little bit thicker than we did with the dry brush. Because what we're trying to do now is bring out all the details of the teeth. So as odd as it sounds, I'm going to flip him upside down. Over. A little more of this. If the power goes out, guys, I'm sorry. We're going to do the best we can to get this done while we can. Now, so we've got his teeth done. Let's work on his claws back here. First thing we're going to do is paint this dew claw. Not going to be a whole lot of detail because his feet are going to be covered in vegetation when we're done. And she didn't really do a whole lot with his claws, but we're going to put a little tiny touch up here on his claws. Remember, this is my daughter's first project, so I'm going to help her out here as much as I can to kind of get her ready to go. Now, while we've got him over here, we are going to go back to the other brush for a minute. Go back to our little flat chisel brush. I'll show you why. Roll him over. If I can get him to stand on his, put him on his stomach for a minute. I got an idea. Need the white paint over here. We're going to put him on his back for a second, provided my hands will cooperate. Let's dry brush some of this vanilla ice cream off of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here underneath him, kind of give him a little bit of a creamy undercoat on his belly to kind of get that, and then we'll come in and dry brush in some. So what we're going to do is we're going to give him a bit of an underbelly, kind of give him some, because most animals, their color phases are lighter underneath, and that's what we're going to do here. So what we're going to do is we're going to give him a bit of a lighter undercoating up under the throat and things like that. Now, You could do whatever color phase you wish for T-Rex, because there are some people who argue that he was actually a carnivore. Well, everybody knows he's a carnivore, but the argument is whether he was actually a hunter or not, a killer. There's been some speculation that he might have been a scavenger. Now, I'll set this down for just a second. I'll still be talking with you while I close up my bottle of vanilla ice cream paint. We're going to go back over here to our steg for a minute. So we'll see if I can get to where you can see it. And we'll give him orange eyes. And for that, I'm going to use this jack-o'-lantern color. And I'm going to be using the fine point brush. That would be, not that one, right here. A little needle brush, so let me wash off this paint. Alright, so let's get over here. Let's bring him over here where we can see what we're doing with the eyes here. So I want the eyes to pop, because the eyes are going to be the first thing that most people notice, because the eyes are what are the windows to the soul. What we're going to do is we're going to paint orange eyes. You see how those pop? Now we could go in, maybe add a little more orange. We don't want to go too crazy with it. You got to be very gentle. Very gentle. Now this one on this eye, his eye is a little bit messed up. He looks like he's had some battle damage on this eye. So he's kind of got a weird look to him. But I'm actually quite happy with that. It looks alright. Now for T-Rex, I'm going to go ahead and paint his eyes while we're in the neighborhood. I'm not going to give him orange eyes. No. We're going to give him yellow ones. And for that, we're going to go with this apple barrel yellow paint. Hang with me for just a second and I will get the paint out. Make sure this paint is shook up good. Sometimes paint like this will separate and you'll have like yellow liquid, and that's not fun. Alright. Get this yellow paint here. I wore an old shirt so I could kind of keep from getting paint all over good clothing. Alright. Now if you were building this any bigger, you'd have to do things like eye sockets and whatnot, but this is kind of a fun little project, and I'm hoping it'll look cool. Because, I mean, everyone loves dinosaurs, and see, there's his yellow eyes. Now, we're going to let these two guys dry for a little bit, and we'll see you guys on the flip side for the next episode of Catapult Time. You know, it seems like I'm a little bit reserved today, but everybody's asleep in the house but me, so I just don't want to wake anyone up. So if you like what you see, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'd be glad to have you. Hit the bell to get notified. And we'll see you guys here from Madd Manor and out and down here in the deep south or mid-south. And we'll see you guys on the flip side.